of a shot of winning. We can beat anybody in the world, and I think we're going to win next Sunday.
And welcome back to the New York Jets Atlantic Flight Podcast. I'm your host, Gus, and with me today we've got Daniel and Paddy. We've skipped a couple of weeks. It's coming up to the run up to Christmas, and us dudes that have to earn a crust, we've been at work, and it comes to the weekend, and we have to get everything done work-wise in the weekend. So unfortunately, the podcast took a little bit of a hit this couple of weeks, but we are back. And what a time to be back. There's so much that has happened in this last couple of weeks. If you don't know what's been happening, I assume that you've been in the ISS, mind you. They probably know that as well. Or you've actually been on the moon where they don't have any Wi-Fi. We now have no GM. Joe Douglas has gone. And if you believe everything that Diana Rossini has printed, it's been quite the collection of things that have happened behind the scenes at One Jets Drive. Anyway, without further ado, let me introduce my hosts, Daniel and Paddy. Daniel.
Gus, I gotta tell you, we're going to be actually window shopping right now for general managers, and apparently there should be a bit of a list. There should be some decent names available for us, and of course we all know Woody Johnson hired the 33rd team, which is run by former New York Jet general manager Mike Tannenbaum and a former Vikings general manager Rick Spielman, who also does some work, I believe, as well as an analyst on CBS Sports' online HQ news feed on your online computers. So, look, I thought at the end of the year, Joe Douglas was going to get sacked. Nope. It came before the bye week. And I mean, look, I guess Woody Johnson's like, that's it. I'm going to do it now. And I might as well just take care of it right now. And then we can start looking into our prospects for the upcoming 2025 season.
Insane. Without further ado, let's get Paddy in, and then we can get down to this nitty-gritty of what we want to talk about is what's happening and what could happen. Paddy, how are you doing?
Yeah, I'm not too bad, thank you. This is kind of one of those weird times of year where, as a fan of a team that hasn't been to the playoffs since I think they've been once since I started being a fan. So we get to this time of year and we start thinking about what we do next, and it kind of this is kind of like off season. I know we're not at the off season yet, but these kind of conversations are why I love the NFL. So I have to find enjoyment out of our suffering, and this is what I enjoy. So looking forward to this.
It gets to this time of the year, doesn't it? I mean, yeah. I think we can all agree it's actually come a little bit earlier than it normally does, where we start thinking about tanking and looking forward to the draft. Let me just put a disclaimer in there. I never wanted to tank, but if the team happens to lose that week, oh well. But I'll never root for losses. But yeah.
Thank you.
I'm not a root for losses guy, but if it happens, it happens.
Neither do I. I never root for losses. I will never, ever root for a loss. I will never root for tanking. If they lose, so be it. It happened. But I will never, ever lose. I will never root for my teams to lose. That's just not in my DNA. That shouldn't be in any Jet fans' DNA or any sport fans' DNA.
Yeah, I was going to say that as well.
Or any supporters' DNA. Cannot root for a loss or for a tank. If it happens, it happens. There's nothing you can do about it.
Yeah, this is true. Let's go back to what you said there, Daniel. The GM search is on, and as you previously mentioned, it's the 33rd team, which is a company that basically looks to hire GMs and head coaches and all the rest of it. That's their forte, apparently. It's been headed by Rick Spielman and one Mike Tannenbaum. And if that name rings a bell with you, he used to be the Jets GM. He is more of a cap guy, which is interesting that he's actually been brought into this. He's more of a caps guy rather than someone who actually is involved in X's and O's and looks to see how much a football guy is. So that has me a little bit baffled why he's actually in, if he's just predominantly a cap guy. It also baffles me that he is an ex-employee now looking to help the New York Jets, who fired him, find another GM, which is kind of odd. It's a bit like your ex-wife asking you to find her another husband, which is just like, I'm a little bit perplexed why he's in there. Rick Spielman, ex-Minnesota Vikings, knows his stuff, and hopefully these guys are going to find us a next GM and head coach. But why has it come down to, we said this when Robert Saleh got fired. Week 5, Robert Saleh gets fired. Not when in London, not when he landed, but like shortly after he landed, after the Jets played in London, which is just bizarre. And there was a stat that came out the other day, the amount of head coaches that have lost their job after coming back from London. There is a stat for it, and it's one to look at. So if any team playing London next year, just watch out, because you just don't know what's going to happen when you come back. But as you alluded to, Daniel, it's weird how it's come to week 5 to fire Salah, and then what was it, week 11 when Joe Douglas got fired. Why do it now? Why do it now? Why didn't they do it last year? When it got to the end of last year, I was like, I think that Douglas and Salah.
So, Paddy, I'll let you go first. It's okay.
Sorry, Paddy.
Okay.
I was just going to say that this seems to be like it seems purely like why they didn't fire them in the summer is because obviously they've been promising all year that with Rodgers it'd be different. So sure, Douglas was coming up to the end of his contract anyway this summer, but the reason they've done it now seems to me like they just want a head start on all of the recruitment and all of the kind of interviews and looking at, because obviously there's going to be more GMs fired in the summer, there'll be more head coaches fired in the summer, or in the spring I should say, but then Woody obviously wants to get a head start on it, and also if he does end up being an ambassador for Trump in February, then after what happened with his brother last time, I think he probably wants to have more control over it again. Woody wanting more control isn't a surprise. Yeah.
That really worries me.
Yeah, see, and I'll agree with Paddy there, because, Woody Johnson is a man that most of the time I know he tries to show some form of constraint or patience. He just had an unknown amount of anger and frustration. We've all heard the reports about how he exploded on the coaching staff because they lost to the Denver Broncos. And the reality is they should never have lost to the Denver Broncos. That game was horrendous, not just weather-wise, but it was completely horrendous because the way that they played on offense. There was only one touchdown in that game, and that was from the Denver Broncos. And I understand that you want to blame Zerline for missing a 50-yard field goal to at least win the game, and that would have put them as a 12-10 winner. But in reality, I can't blame Zerline, because the Jet offense was inept that entire day, especially when you have first and goal, second and goal, third and goal on the 1 yard line, and then you kick the field goal. That should have been a touchdown. And you mucked around, and you still couldn't do a damn thing.
Mm-hmm.
It's just, everything snowballed. And then Woody panicked, got overly frustrated because he felt embarrassed as the former ambassador to the United Kingdom, where you guys are, in front of his friends and colleagues in the UK when they basically got beaten pretty badly by the Minnesota Vikings. And even though they should have had at least an opportunity to either tie or take the lead in Minnesota to win the game in the fourth quarter, it failed right in front of their faces. So all I can say is that Woody basically got overly concerned, and he should never have fired he should have never fired Robert Saleh after the loss to the
Broncos or
to
Vikings?
the Vikings.
Mm-hmm.
Yep, to the Vikings. Should never lost. You know,
Two
he
and
should never
three.
have fired him after the loss of the Vikings. Yep, they were 2-3. You're still in it, and you're still battling for first place in the division. Because if you would have kept Saleh, maybe it wouldn't have been that bad. But I agree with the both of you. You should have fired them both at the end of last summer, or around the summertime when the season ended. You should have fired them both after the end of the 2023 season. You didn't, because you got talked into keeping them because Aaron Rodgers got injured after the first 4 snaps of the home opener against the Bills. So, look, I mean, what are you going to do?
See, that's
What are
the
you gonna
thing.
do? I don't know.
Would it
It's crazy.
I want to play devil's advocate here. Would it have been fair? Because what happened with me at the end of last season, what I was thinking was really they should both be gone. But then I was thinking, would it be fair because of what happened? You put all your eggs in one basket, and that's what it comes down to. There's so many eggs in this one basket, and it's all about Aaron Rodgers. If Aaron Rodgers goes, if Aaron Rodgers gets hurt, so what I was thinking was, I was on the fence up until that point, up until the end of last season. I was on the fence with Salah because I didn't think it was fair because he's never had a proper OC. Well, he did. He had Mike LaFleur, but he had a rookie quarterback. We know the history of all that. We know why that didn't work out. Had we kept Mike LaFleur, quite possibly it could have worked out, but we've never had that franchise quarterback. Arguably, you could say right now we still don't, because he's just a shadow of who he is. But would it have been fair? I don't think it would have. See, this is the conundrum I have. Mm-hmm. I don't think it would have been fair to have fired Salah that at the end of last season because of 4 snaps into game 1. With Joe Douglas, I will stand and die on this hill. His first year, we can strike that one off because he came in at the after free agency, after the draft. He's basically a lame duck GM for that year. You can strike off the second season, because he was still working with Gase at that point. And Gase obviously got him that job. So I would imagine that there was a little bit of hierarchy involved in that. So strike that one off. The third year he was here, he then addressed the scouting issues. He basically employed a lot of people in the front office and the scouting department, sorted that out. And that the result of which we saw in 2022, which was fantastic. So he's had hits and misses. As a GM, I don't care about this. I suppose I should, the wins and loss thing, because at the end of the day, that's what really matters. But at the end of the day, when you look at the more successful teams, they've got stability by employing people for a long period of time. And now Woody gets a lot of knock for saying that he's not a patient owner. He is a patient owner. He does put his hands in his pockets, but we all know he meddles. Whether or not, it's just the perfect storm. If Zach Wilson, because this all boils down to one thing, if Zach Wilson had worked out or even was average, we wouldn't be in this mess that we're in now. It's as simple as that. Everything stems from Zach Wilson not working out. So
actually, let me say this, and this is beyond Zach Wilson. This is also Sam Darnold, because let me say this.
Oh yeah.
I want to go to Sam because here's the conundrum that we have here. When Woody was the UK ambassador for the United States government, okay. I don't know where I think Gus, you told me where you work. You're across from the embassy for the U.S.? Is that where you said you were telling me? You're like where you work or something, or do you know where the embassy is?
I do.
It was in London, I'm assuming.
Yeah, I know where it is. Yeah, that's it used to be in Grosvenor Square, but now it's on the South Bank.
Gotcha. See, Christopher Johnson which is Woody's brother, became the de facto owner, and Christopher, I'm sorry to say it, is 1,000 times worse than Woody because he is clueless about how to be a real owner of a football team, or at least of a professional sport team. As much as, he tried his best, the reality is this. He got suckered into hiring Adam Gase by Peyton Manning.
Yep.
He got basically suckered by Adam Gase to let him fire his own defensive coordinator. He didn't let Christopher Johnson fire him. He didn't let Joe Douglas fire him. He got bamboozled by Adam Gase to say, oh, you want to fire your own defensive coordinator? Yeah, go ahead. You go ahead and do it. I don't want to do it. That's not what an owner is supposed to do. An owner is supposed to take charge when he has to for the right reasons, not for the wrong reasons. Christopher Johnson, if Woody ever gets brought back as an ambassador in the Donald Trump administration for his second term and becomes the UK ambassador again, that's a loss for the Jets. I know everybody hates Woody right now. I know everybody doesn't like Woody right now, and they want Woody to sell the team. I understand that. But I want everyone to understand this. If Woody doesn't sell the team, it makes no sense for him to go back to becoming an ambassador for this administration. He should stay here over in Florham Park, New Jersey, and run the Jets the way he should be running the Jets, because Christopher is inept. He cannot do it.
We know Woody's not going to do that. We know
exactly.
The thing that matters to him is the status. He's going to go and be an ambassador. He's an owner of an NFL team. He wants to be an ambassador. The reason that he fired Salah after London, as you said, was because he was embarrassed in front of all of the people that he'd taken into his box, all of his old chums from his ambassadorial days. He's definitely. I've got no doubt in my mind that if he's asked to go and be an ambassador again, he'll take it. And then, I agree with you. I would be much happier with a different owner, completely. But yeah, we're going to get stuck with his brother, who is clearly like that. He's got that little brother thing of he's got something to prove. Like his brother is the one with the money. His brother is the one with the name. His brother's the one with the team. So he's gonna come in here. He's gonna do what he thinks is best. And as you said, as we saw with Adam Gase, it's probably not going to work out. But that's why I think we're doing it now, not in the spring when Woody's already gone.
And with Adam Gase, when Adam Gase was the head coach of the Jets, Paddy and Gus, he ruined Sam Darnold. And it's not just that he ruined Sam Darnold. Joe Douglas, before he even had that great draft to bring over Garrett Wilson, Breece Hall, Jermaine Johnson, and Sauce Gardner, and Jeremy Ruckert, he took away Sam Darnold's weapons. He took away Robbie Anderson, because that was the home run that was the home run hitter every time that you needed a big play, a big touchdown. Darnold to Robbie Anderson. When he took him away, Darnold was not doing great. Everything was not going the way it should have. And in my book, that's why they should never have gone to trade away Sam Darnold. They should never have drafted Zach Wilson. As much as everyone's having buyer's remorse about, oh my God, Zach Wilson was not really the problem. No, he was the problem, because Zach Wilson is a terrible quarterback. He's a terrible quarterback. He's too arrogant, too stupid. And when they were going on that roll, when he came back from injury in 2022, what was the two games he couldn't beat? The one team he couldn't beat twice in the division. And that was the Patriots. The Patriots, who stink, who are terrible, yet for some stupid reason, Zach Wilson could not beat them. Could not beat them at all. And that's the thing that really, it shows that he had a problem. And when he went to talk to the media after that 10-3 loss on a punt return for a touchdown by the Patriots, And Rich Sweeney said, do you blame yourself for this? No, I don't blame myself for this loss. That was the wrong thing.
But
It's the wrong
agree.
freaking
the
thing.
thing with Zach Wilson, let's I don't want to get bogged down with Zach Wilson, but the thing that was evident in his second year was it was after training camp. First training camp he lit it up. Second training camp he lit it up, and then pre-season kind of lit it up. But then in the games, let's be honest, our offensive line was awful, and I'm not going to lay. They have a proportion of the blame for what happened with Zach. He didn't develop the yips. He already had the yips. He was at BYU where his offensive line was absolutely amazing, and he hardly ever got hit, and he had the mobility to escape as well. So that couple those two things together, he didn't really face that much. I'll be honest, he did actually face 2 or 3 really good defenses while he was at BYU. But his offensive line was really, really good. And it was evident to me that as soon as it went live in real games and he was facing real pass rush, that was his problem. That was why he developed his yips, if you like. And everyone was talking about, oh, well, now he's got the yips. No, he always had the yips. He does not like getting hit. He was absolutely shit scared of getting drilled into the dirt. That was what his problem was. He couldn't, as soon as anyone was like within touching distance of him, his thought process and his checkdowns just went completely out the window, and that was it. But Zach Wilson wasn't the answer. I've said this to somebody else I know. It was definite that Salah wanted to keep Darnold, and definitely LaFleur wanted to keep Darnold. And I also truly believe, from what I've been told privately, that Joe Douglas also wanted to keep Darnold. So why did we draft Zach Wilson? And again, you can read into this what you like. I got told something in confidence, and it had a lot to do with who Zach Wilson's uncle was, the owner of JetBlue, the airline. So put 2 and 2 together. And now with this Diana Rossini bit that's come out with all the stuff that Woody's meant to have done, that was one of the things that was actually missing, I believe, in that piece that was in The Athletic. But hey, let's not get into the weeds on Diana Rossini and Zach, whatever his name is, Rosenblatt. It was just a horrible piece.
Zach Rosenblatt. Yep.
Yeah, that was just a horrible piece. But I happen to think that where there's smoke, there's fire. And I think there's a lot of people that look at some of those accusations that were made. Obviously, that's come from somebody, and the slant was, it was very sympathetic to Joe Douglas. So maybe someone leaked something out in that direction. So I think you have to take things with a pinch of salt, but I also wouldn't just dismiss it as being pure idle gossip. But we as fans have always had a thought that Woody meddles, and that is my worry, that we're getting that our next head coach and our next GM, whoever they are, it doesn't matter whether they get written something into their contracts where it says a no meddling clause. Because if Woody or Chris come in and they absolutely vehemently disagree with something, they're just going to go, yeah, well, I'm just going to rip that up. Here's 16 million. You're fired. There you go. And we're on to the next GM or head coach. I think it's time that we did. We actually haven't done this in recent years, of creating synchronicity between the general manager and head coach. And now I think this is the time that we need to do it. Well, we will be doing it. So guys, are there anybody head coach wise that you would like? I'll put this one on to Daniel first.
Well, the hope is, and this is the hope, is that Woody Johnson has to start understanding. You got to stop meddling in NFL football affairs. Look, I understand he's the owner of the team. I understand that completely. But the point is that you got to let your football people run the team. Do not throw in your 2 cents. Do not even throw in a suggestion. Don't even have an epiphany. Leave everything alone to your football people and let them try and make what works. You want to know why Robert Kraft was always so successful with the Patriots? Because he let Bill Belichick run the team. He didn't interfere. He let him run the team. You know, all those years when Wayne Huizenga owned the Miami Dolphins, who was his head coach? It was Don Shula. And any past Miami Dolphins owner, when they had Don Shula, they trusted him. That's why he was the longest reigning head coach of that team, and that's why he won those several Super Bowls, made another Super Bowl appearance, didn't win another Super Bowl in a long time, but he had a track record.
But the closest we've
Why do
come
you
to that
think?
is Bill Parcells.
Exactly. Bill Parcells was trusted those 3 years because why? Because Leon Hess had enough of the mediocrity that he wanted to finally get into the Super Bowl. And when he brought over Bill Parcells, those 3 years, obviously the first two were magical, but still though, that's the reason why before the man passed away, and that's before Woody Johnson bought the team.
And let's
This
remember,
is why.
let's remember, because there'll be people listening to this that weren't around, which I find absolutely amazing because it makes me feel old. Before Bill Parcells came to the Jets, he was actually the Giants head coach and had enormous success in the Giants. Again,
Exactly.
it was an amazing defense, fronted by Lawrence Taylor. Who can forget that? But he built, his defense that wins championships and all that. And it was sort of on the. You look at these dynasty teams; it's all built and predicated on fantastic defenses, and the Giants did have that. I mean, their defense were all household names, and it was Bill Parcells that built that up. So when Bill Parcells came to the Jets, rightly, there's a lot of Jets fans putting my hand up here that were super excited as to what was about to come. We'd had Rich Kotite before that. We'd had Joe Walton before that. And it's just like, oh my God, now we've actually got the real deal. But he was a head coach GM. So do we need somebody more like that?
Yeah, we do. We really do. But unfortunately, that type of head coach is not around anymore. The league has grown up. The league has adjusted, changed. It's trying to become, I mean, it's still a violent sport, but they're trying not to be overly violent. They want to keep the players around and not be concussed all the time. I mean, it's still going to be violent sport. It's still going to be tackling. There's still going to be hard hits every now and then. But still, though, they're trying to minimize the damages to these players and to keep them around for a long, long time. I mean, look, we're never going to have a Bill Parcells type of head coach ever again, a Chuck Noll type of head coach ever again, or even a Don Shula head coach ever again. But you got to have someone that knows what they're doing and not coddle the players. And I feel the only detriment to Robert Saleh was that he coddled them too much. He became a player's coach too much. And at the same time, if you ever bring a guy like Eric Mangini, who was here for those 2-3 years as the head coach, I mean, he was trying to be like Belichick, and unfortunately, it just didn't work at the end. And they got rid of him. So what you want is a head coach with a great coaching staff to be meticulous, to be understanding, but to be firm. I'm not saying you gotta be a dictator, but you gotta be firm. And that's what Andy Reid has done for his entire year, his entire coaching career. First with the Eagles, and now with the Kansas City Chiefs. That's why you gotta have someone like Andy Reid. I'm not saying he's gonna come over here, but an Andy Reid type of head coach who is now embodying all of that to be someone to run this team and go forward. And hopefully you get a successful general manager at the same time. He'll have some hits, he'll have some misses, but he'll be consistently good for the Jets to find the talent not only in the drafts, but in the free agency market that truly works.
Yeah. Paddy, have you got any thoughts on this?
Yeah. I just listened to the two of you talk, and I think, I'm going to say it. I hate to upset both of you. I have no memory of Bill Barcells. Sorry.
This is a concern. Well,
What do we do with you, Paddy?
Well, that's why I brought it up, because I take it for granted, and I mean, I don't know many other Jets fans this side of the pond as old as me that have supported the Jets for as long. So, and sometimes I do take it for granted. So when I do talk to people, I'll just automatically assume they know what I'm going on about, and they know what experience it was like being a Jets fan, not a Jets fan in the UK, but being a Jets fan. I don't call myself a UK Jets fan. I just call myself a Jets fan. It doesn't make
Damn straight.
It doesn't make. In fact, I probably don't like it being called a UK Jets fan. I'm not a UK Jets fan. I'm just a Jets fan. Simple as that. It doesn't matter where you live in the world these days. It's a global sport now. So that's another story for another day.
Yeah.
But getting back to this GM and head coach thing, you're right in what you're saying, Daniel. I don't think these head coaches are around anymore, which brings me on to, we are going to need a head coach, I think, that has done this before. We cannot go down the route, which is a shame, because there is somebody I would like to be our head coach. Anybody that knows me, I've been banging this drum for about 4 years now, maybe even 5 years now, and that is Todd Monken. I would love Todd Monken to be head coach, but that my problem with Todd Monken becoming the head coach is this. I think he was head coach in college, but he's never head coached in the NFL.
Yeah,
and we
true.
are in a stage now, this team absolutely needs, what we've been talking about is a Bill Parcells type of head coach, a no-nonsense head coach. Now, I'm not saying that Todd Monken couldn't do that, but you need to be able to hit the ground running, and it's not going to be a situation where another Robert Saleh situation where, you have to give him a pass because he's a rookie head coach. We can't do that. We cannot afford to do that with the talent that especially this young talent that we've got on this team. This team, I don't think it needs a complete hard rebuild. It's somewhere between a hard and a soft rebuild. So let's call it a medium rebuild. We've got the core players in this team, the nucleus of players in this team. We just need somebody to know how to put this jigsaw together. And that's why we need a head coach that's got experience. And that, I'm afraid, is where the Jets are going to come undone. Because when you look around the league, I mean, there's a guy that's unemployed at the moment, Mike Vrabel. But again, he's the defensive side of the ball. Do you really
Sorry,
want
Gus,
Go on.
that's what I was going to say. I can think of a handful of good defensive coordinators who have been head coaches before, but I can't think of anyone that I jump at straight away who's on the offensive side who is in a coordinator job now and has experience. The only one I can think of is Matt Nagy, and I don't really want to get tied to a situation like he had at the Bears. So I agree with you. We're in a tricky situation there.
I don't think Vrabel. Sorry, I'm just going to finish this. I don't think Vrabel is even in the running because of the Bill Belichick connection. Vrabel is his disciple. He's never going to come here. Bill Belichick is going to say, "Do that. You are off my Christmas card list." Simple as that. Daniel.
You see, that's what I was about to say too. But he was not so much as a disciple. See, here's the thing about Mike Vrabel. Vrabel was never a part of Bill Belichick's coaching staff. Yes, when he was a player, he learned how to play the game under Bill Belichick, but he was never a part of his assistant coaches or any type of his coaching staff after he retired. He made his own way. Even though he took the teachings of Bill Belichick, he never was a part of Bill Belichick's coaching staff, because obviously whoever graduates out of Bill Belichick's coaching staff does not stay at their head coaching jobs for a long time. So basically, I like to say the brain tree gets severed by these former assistant coaches of Belichick's, and then they don't do well. That's why Josh McDaniels stinks. That's why Matt Patricia stunk. That's why Romeo Crennel stunk. He stunk, and and everyone else that was a part of the Belichick brain tree. Once they snapped off the tree, the branch was off. That's it. They don't regrow. They don't become a new tree. So that's why I don't trust anyone
Daniels,
that
I want
gets.
to add Daniels into that as well.
Yep. And I agree with you. Vrabel would never come here. I mean, I think Vrabel would be an excellent choice for the Jets, but like you just said, Gus, and even I agree with this, he'd never come here. He doesn't want to be in a dysfunctional team where the owner continues to meddle in the affairs of the football team. I'm not saying he can't walk around. I'm not saying Woody can't walk around and observe practice. I'm not saying he can't talk to the players. I'm not saying he can't do this, he can't do that. He should not be making decisions either in the draft room or making decisions during free agency or anytime during the season. It's his team. I understand. You want him to talk? Fine. He can talk. He can ask questions. It's okay. He can get involved. Yes, but don't overly get involved. And I don't think there's going to be I think, unfortunately, we're going to have to go through another coordinator. I think that's where they're going to go because I don't think you're going to see a repeat head coach coming in here.
No. And I think this is going to put off a lot of possibly even GMs as well. It goes back to the meddling issue, and I'm going to touch again on the Rossini, the athletic piece. Even this, we know that this is true. The whole league saw. Let's go on what was true and what is conjecture. What is true is Joe Douglas has not been a GM for at least 7 weeks, at least, and that came to a head with the Devontae Adams and Reddick signings in the same week. And Woody was instrumental on that. We know that for an absolute fact. It was all over Twitter. It was all over the press. It was in the Post. It was in the Mail. It was everywhere. That was being reported on as factual that Woody was involved in those. There was hardly any mention of Joe Douglas's name in anything to do with those situations at all, even though Joe Douglas had been trying to get Devontae Adams on the Jets since the beginning of the season, and possibly even last season. But that we do know. But then we've got this bit in the Athletic, the hatchet job that Rossini did. Now, whether or not people agree with what they've written, or they say, "Hey, that's a crock of shit," it doesn't matter because the damage is done. You can put two and two together. There's Joe Douglas, well respected, well liked within the league and in college setup as well. He's proved himself within his job. Whether you agree with that or not, he's been a good scout. He comes from a scouting background and he does know his stuff. And I think for the best part, he did do a good job. Should he have gone? Don't know. That's not for me to say. I have an opinion and that's for another day. But when we're moving forward, there's going to be GMs and head coaches or future GMs and future head coaches. They are going to look at this like the Vrabels of this world and they're going to stay away. They're not going to want anything to do with it. Just in case this could all be true. We've got this meddling owner. The owner is a massive, massive road cone into what we're going to try and do now. And I think it was Paddy, you mentioned this. If the team got sold, who would come in next? Well, there's rumours it's Elon Musk. There's rumours that it's Jeff Bezos. Take that with a pinch of salt.
But I mean, their names get thrown around. When was it? Man United got sold last year, and Elon Musk and Jeff Bezos were thrown into that conversation as well. It's just kind of anyone with money is just...
well, take it with a pinch of salt. So take it with a pinch of salt, those names. But what I would say is careful what you wish for, because if you think Woody's a bad owner and the next guy comes in and he's even worse, he's Jerry Jones 2.0.
Yeah.
Because these guys that have got money, that's what they are. They're egotists. They're narcissists. That's Woody. I don't know him personally, but he comes across as being that. You touched on it, Daniel. Over in London, he wanted to impress all his buddies. I think he wanted to. Yeah, sure, he's an owner and he wants to win. That's fine. But when they didn't win, he took it personally, and he's used his own personal grudge to fire Salah. We were 2-3, and not only has he sacked the head coach, he's now made the defense, which was our strongest asset within the team, even weaker by cutting the guy who actually, bunny quotes, invented our of defence. And now we've got Jeff Ulbrich, who I'm sorry to say, I just don't think he's a patch on Salah. And week 4 in their rookie year, our defence was absolutely awful until obviously Salah came in and fixed things. And I think Salah's had more input into the defence. And he readily admitted it, didn't he, last year when he said he needed to concentrate more on the offence. But that got wrecked. And now Woody's firing of Salah has just made it even worse. No head coach can devote enough time to doing their craft and being a defensive coordinator at the same time. You just can't do it. But as I say,
you can't.
Getting back on point, this is going to put off a lot of candidates. And what guarantee, question for you guys, does it matter that Woody or Chris Johnson will say, I'm not going to have anything to do with this. We will not meddle, promise.
I mean, look, that's what it has to be. They have to stop meddling. They just have to stop meddling. Woody has to stop meddling, and Christopher Johnson has to stop being a moron.
Good luck.
I mean, that's the truth. That's the truth. I'm sorry to say it, but that's the truth.
Mm-hmm.
And, you know, I give Woody credit for this. He cares. He wants to win. And he wants to win not just for himself, but he wants to win for us. The sad thing is that he's doing it and going about it the wrong way. That's the problem. The problem is this. Do less means more. If you don't overdo it and you let the football people do what they have to do, everything will turn out roses. That's what he has to do. Stop doing so much. Leave the team alone. Let your football people run the team, and then you can assess whatever you need to assess, but let them run the team, period.
So do you think there'd be a GM that's going to come in even with the knowledge that their job is going to be constantly meddled with?
Yes.
I think
yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
Somebody's going to take it.
Listen. Exactly. Paddy, you're right, because it doesn't matter. It's still the NFL. See, that's what everyone needs to understand. They're not just taking a job because, we're not going to take the job because it's New York. No, They want to take the job because it's in the National Football League. Because you got to start somewhere. And if you start somewhere and then let's just say he does get to be successful and he does break the jinx, he'll be, revered as the greatest general manager in the history of the New York Jets since Mike Tannenbaum or since Super Bowl III.
Yeah.
But
I agree with you.
Even if he doesn't do well, he'll still be considered part of a job because you know what? Yeah, we know you weren't doing good in New York, but we still believe you can do something for us. And he'll be hired. Now, he may be brought back as an assistant general manager, or he'll be in a different position, but he'll still be hired regardless. You're still in the National Football League no matter what.
And it's the guys that are hiring that I will bring up another problem. We've touched on this at the beginning. We've got Mike Tannenbaum, we've got Rick Spielman doing it. So Woody's employed this 33rd team, this conglomerate, to come in and do this hiring. For fits and giggles, let's just say that Mike Tannenbaum prefers this GM over another one, but Rick Spielman's on the other side of the fence and he prefers this one. Who's Woody going to go with? Who's Woody going to go with? His old mate, Mike Tannenbaum, or Rick Spielman?
You'd hope it'd be Spielman because he's already sacked Tannenbaum.
I personally think that Woody is going to go for a GM that is ever so slightly malleable and not maybe someone in the ilk of a Bill Parcells that just says absolutely no way. Woody, this is my gig. Nick off, mate. I'm sorting this out. Get out. No, you're not interfering. Or is he going to get a GM that's going to go, oh, well, yeah, if it's okay, I would like to do this. And, would it be okay? Subservient. I'm not saying completely subservient, but will they choose a GM? And this is my concern. Is Rick Spielman more senior in this conversation than Mike T?
I think I think they're both going to be on the same page. I think they're both going to work together, and I think they're going to hammer out a couple of candidates that Woody Johnson may or may not like. So, look, I think right now, at this point in time, this is going to be a team effort from both Tannenbaum and Spielman. Who they select to give a list to Woody Johnson to interview, we'll have to wait and see. But for now, what more do you have to go? And I know Woody's been getting flack for this. Why? All these past GM candidates since Tannenbaum have failed. Idzik was a failure. McCagnon's is a failure. Joe Douglas. I mean, I'll say it right now. Unfortunately, failure. I mean, they're trying to do their own, and they can't do it. They can't choose right. You can't consult. I mean, Woody Johnson hired John Idzik because he made it a regular, job search for the regular business. You can't do that. You can't just do a regular job search and you all of a sudden pick this guy to be your general manager of your NFL football team. You can't do that. And then you went with other people to bring over McCagnon, and then of course Todd Bowles, and then of course that failed. So then you get bamboozled more because Adam Gase said, "Hey, I got my friend Joe Douglas. You want him to come over?" And that was on Christopher Johnson to say, you don't know what you're doing.
Mm-hmm.
How do you listen to this guy who's supposed to be your head coach, and he tells you to fire Mike McCagnon after the draft, bring in your buddy Joe Douglas, then you beg the owner to let you fire your own defensive coordinator? I mean, this is ridiculous.
Yeah. It's going to be a situation that we're all going to monitor extremely closely. It's going to be very interesting. I, for one, am not confident we will still get it right because we just seem to find a way to muck things up every single time, every single step of the way. This has been going on for decades, and even when we think we're close, we're not. Let's just remind everybody, this is an all-in year. This is what an all-in year looks like. Yeah, right. Okie dokie. Not buying that again. So I was going to briefly touch on the Aaron Rodgers situation. On should he come? We'll just quickly do this, and then we'll go on to because we're playing somebody tomorrow called Seattle Seahawks. Quickly, gentlemen, your thoughts on Aaron Rodgers? If he, I did bring up some figures on the cap on this. Basically, if he goes at the end of this year, we can take a cap hit of, I think it's 49 million. After that, if he stays next year, it can get split into two. I think it's 14 million and 35 million the following year, which seemed a little bit steep for me. Do you take the cap hit next year, or do you want Rodgers back next year and to split it over the next 2 years? Obviously, the 35 mil is going to come out of your rebuilding year. So, who wants to take this first?
I say I don't want him back. If we're getting a new, I say if we are getting a new head coach, we are getting a new GM. We'll probably get new coordinators with that. Do we want Hackett hanging around because he's Rodgers' mate? Do we want another year of watching Aaron Rodgers do what he's done this year? Because I think he's been a lot more of the problem than people are willing to admit. I think you watch a lot of his throws, and I think we always share Brian Balding's analysis on certain plays after the games, because there's always plays or throws that are just wide of the mark, whether that's behind the receiver, and you'll always have people on Twitter saying that, that's because that's where the receiver should have been. But I think Rodgers is so concerned with getting the ball in his hands and throwing it away as quick as he can. He's not actually looking at where the receivers are. I'm not necessarily saying a rookie. I think that's a conversation for a later date. But I definitely don't want to do the same thing next year as we've done this year. I'm quite happy to say, keep the core together, cut the dead weight. That includes him. Tyron Smith, unfortunately, has been a failure. There's dead weight all over the defence. I don't really know what the situation with Lazard and Adams is, but I would definitely say cut
Adams
one
will
of
be
them,
gone.
maybe both.
Adams,
Yeah.
I think we saved something like about 16 million. I think it's 16 million in cap hit if Adams goes. If Rodgers goes, Adams is not going to be here.
Yeah.
That was part and parcel of the package that he's going to be with his buddy. Lazard, he'll be gone.
I wouldn't be sad to see the back of eyes with them. I think we can get by in a, as you said, a medium rebuild with 1-2 year contracts for receivers, see what they offer. We basically just need to take next year as just a free hit, really.
I agree. I would do exactly the same myself. I would just take the hit for next year.
Here's what, I mean, that's the one thing that I'm I'm holding on to right now, and that is, the huge cap hit, the dead cap hit that's going to affect the Jets into 2025. And I'm not disagreeing with you guys. If you want to let go of Aaron and say that's it, we're done, and he moves on and he probably retires because we all know nobody else wants him. But here's the thing. Even if let's just say for the hell of it, because honestly, you're damned if you do and you're damned if you don't. Yeah. That's the reality of the situation. Let's just say Woody Johnson gets talked back into keeping Aaron Rodgers for 2025. And you do, let's just say for the hell of it, you do draft your quarterback in the first round for the future, depending on that kid from University of Miami, Florida. And I have to say that for all of you because there is a University of Miami in Ohio, so you have to always differentiate which school you're talking about. Because that's the one that I think Ben Roethlisberger went to, is University of Miami in Ohio. One Miami's hot, one Miami's cold. Ever thought of that? No, not really. But anyway.
It's a long way from the beach.
Yes, it is. Very, very long way. I don't remember Miami having mountains and goats. No. But, I mean, to learn under Aaron Rodgers for a year, I mean, that's not the worst thing in the world. And regardless, and I agree with you as well, Gus, that, this isn't a big rebuild. You don't have to blow the whole thing up. There's still a good nucleus on this team. They just have to be coached better. That's the problem. But if you keep Aaron Rodgers and, maybe you draft your quarterback of the future, maybe you might have your quarterback of the future right now. I mean, I understand there's reports of Travis Jordan's injury not healing the way it is, but you know what? I didn't expect him to play this year anyway at all.
No, of course.
Let him heal. I'm actually expecting him to recover and hopefully be ready for preseason for 2025 because I'd like to see what we have here in this kid and not throw him away. Mm-hmm. I also like to see more Adrian Martinez. Maybe give him an opportunity. I mean, he didn't look that bad in preseason.
No, he didn't.
At least he looked competent. I mean, that's all you're asking for right now, competent quarterback play. And you still have Tyrod Taylor under contract for next year.
Yeah.
So if Aaron Rodgers, they do tell him to say, well, thank you for your time. We appreciate you, but it's time to say goodbye. You can still have Tyrod Taylor playing quarterback. Yeah. And then, we'll see what Martinez can do. And if Travis Jordan is still not ready to go,
you're doing it now, Jordan Travis.
Yeah, Jordan Travis. I know. If Travis Jordan is not ready to go for preseason next year, well, then you do. And you're going to have to draft your quarterback then.
It's going to be interesting. There's so many aspects of what's going on now in the Jets. It's going to be frustrating because obviously we can't do anything about it. I'm hoping that for the rest of the season we start seeing what some of the younger guys in the team could do, or people that just haven't been a chance, not necessarily younger. It'll be interesting to see. I believe we picked up Bam Knight this week again, so he's back. Congratulations, Bam. God is looking after you, brother. We also picked up another wide receiver who I can't remember the name of. It's an intriguing name, but this is what we need to be doing now. I don't know. Is it Phil Savage that's he's acting GM at the moment? So obviously Phil Savage has had a lot to do with scouting. It's going to be interesting to see if he can scour people's practice squads and pick up players, young players that we can bring in, test and dump, and bring in more and test and dump, and let's see what happens. Talking of Jets players, we're playing Seattle this weekend, Sunday, and guess what? We have a 1 p.m. game. Lovely. That's where it should be. And we've got the return of Leonard Williams and Geno Smith, who are both having, let's be honest, a pretty good season, the pair of them. So, guys, what do we think is going to happen in this game?
Well, I mean, I'll tell you right now, Seattle, they're tied with Arizona for their division lead with 6-5 in the NFC West. I mean, let's be honest with ourselves here. This is going to be a very, very difficult game to face against this Seattle Seahawks team. They have physical receivers. They got physicality.
Yeah, very good receiving
big,
core.
Strong players, not only on offense but on defense. This is going to be a challenge for the Jets to even try and get that fourth win. So,
Yeah.
I mean, honestly, they're really going to have to do extra things to stop the run. Hopefully, Sauce has taken a breather and will finally be back to where he should be, and try to challenge Metcalf and all the other players in the wide receiver core for Seattle. But I got a funny feeling this is going to be a loss. So we'll see what happens. But I mean, look, we all want to see them win, and I know you're telling me, no, we don't want to see them win because we have to improve our draft position. I don't care about that. We're still in the season. I want to win. I want to feel good. I want to wear my Jets gear for Victory Monday. Okay? That's what I want. That's what I want, damn it.
Well, I will say this. Seattle haven't really got much of a run game, but that hasn't stopped other teams without much of a run game making their run game look like they're running Barry Sanders, just because we simply can't stop anything run related. I'm hoping Leonard Taylor gets in to start more than Clemens, who just is hopeless.
Yeah.
That's going to be interesting. That's going to be an interesting battle. Their run game against our run defense. I think Will McDonald should have a fairly good game. I don't think their O-line is that much good, but it's Seattle's pass rush, and as you've rightly said, their attacking wide receivers that are absolutely beastly. Jackson Smith-Njigba is just so good. I'm so annoyed that we didn't get him that year. He was sat there. I suppose it's a bit like the Brock Bowers guys this year. He was sat there and we just passed on Jackson Smith-Njigba, but we've got Will McDonald now, so he's a pretty good player as well. But I'm with you guys. I think you both said you reckon this was going to be a loss. I do too. I think it's going to be closer than people think. I don't know what the over under is on this, but I have a funny feeling that probably Seattle are 3.5 point favourites, but I think it's going to be a close game, so I think it's going to be another loss, but hopefully the team puts up some fight, and that's all you can ask for, really.
Would be nice.
Guys, it's been a pleasure. We look forward to Seattle at a proper football time of 1 p.m. Eastern time, 6 p.m. UK time and Ireland, and guys, it's been always a pleasure talking to you guys about Jets football and football. And let's hopefully we can do this again next week. And
y'all know what to say. On 3. 1, 2, 3.